welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Samara Andrews and this is Cozy Corner Crochet. So, I posted on my Facebook just everything that I've crocheted and the things that I want to sew. And I started frogging this and I was like, wait, I have to record this. I undid the weaving, took like maybe 3 minutes, but yeah, I made them way too big, and I just feel like if I were to buy these, like all of it has to be thinner. Do you see the vision? Yeah. I'm just gonna post like, I guess, an apology on Facebook to anyone who saw these and was like, I want those. And then be like, hey, so I have to post another photo of that because I actually frogged that and I did make it the same design. Everything's the same. I just made it smaller. So here's what happened. If you crochet and you know crochet like most people do that watch videos of mine, what am I talking about? You might know that at the end of every round, when you're working in the round, there's always this little stitch in between where you need a slip stitch and where your last stitch is. And it was like this really, really thin stitch, which is usually the slip stitch or the chain that you have to make during every round. And I think that since this was my first project from my last haul, and it had been a while since I last crocheted, I forgot that since these are, I think, half double crochets or double crochets, I think it's double crochets, but I was supposed to chain 3 or 4, or no, 2 or 3, I think 3, but I didn't do that, so it was just slip stitch. And it just went horribly wrong. And in that little tiny stitch, I just kept on working in it every row, so then that ended up making it increased. You can see it ended up going into like a triangular form. But for future like clothing, because clothing is what I want to pursue the most, I think I want to take up knitting, because there's a top that I saw from a new YouTuber. She's new to the community of crocheting on YouTube. Well, she just started making actual YouTube videos. She has YouTube shorts, but she presented all of her pieces on her first vlog, and she made this top with like a little cute bow, and it like had scallop or like ruffle border to it. And at first I was like, how did she crochet that? But then I realized she knitted it, and the only things that she crochets are her bucket hats, because I commented and she answered, because there weren't a lot of comments on her video. But yeah, I really want to make that top that she has, because I thought that it looked really good. So I think I might take up some knitting. So I'm gonna have to, I've already knit something before, and it was very painstakingly made, because it was like a sleeve made out of like 4 balls of this like maroon hot pink sort of, and I used circular needles, and the way they worked were so bad because the actual tubing that connected to the needles was thinner than the actual needle. And it might just be me, and my beginner NIS 2 circular needles, but since the needle was thick, every time that my stitches would like go onto like the tubing that connects the two needles, you know, I would do the knit stitch is all I know. I don't know how to increase, how to purl, or how to decrease, or do any additional stitches. I don't know any of that, but all I knew was to knit in the round, I guess. I really just made a sleeve. It wasn't even to a project. But anyways, every time that I would do the knit stitch and then have it go on the other needle, all my stitches would go to that needle. So then I would have to move all the stitches on the tubing that connect the two needles onto the new one. So then I had to like take the stitch, like actually open it and put it on there. So it was so tedious. I'm going to frog the rest of this and I will get back to you with the finished results. So I guess here's the before and after, and here is the progress. Quick update. This is so far what we have for our scrap yarn. These two are connected fully. I'm glad that the way that I worked this up was in the way that it was, because if I had done the color change like how I did with the July 4th top, I think I would have freaked, because that would be strands of longer pieces that I'm trying to work smaller, and then having to cut the excess yarn off, and also I would just have a bunch of strands of yarn. So right now I'm working on the cuff, because for me the cuff was a little too big and I want it to be more fitted. So I need to take off at least like an inch or two. So I single crochet, I chained 8, and I am currently single crocheting in the back loops only for the cuff part. Yeah, so I'll see you guys in a little bit. I also have the red highlights. This is from the thumb, and this is from the thumb and then like the actual fingers. So yeah, before, after. See ya. Okay, so I have reached the point where I can show you like where it is I messed up. So when I was doing the color changes, right, every time I would meet this point where I would slip stitch, there was this stitch in between where I had to, my ending stitch, and where I had to slip stitch to end off. So this is where I would slip stitch, but there was this little stitch that I just had, look, I just felt like I had to go in this stitch. This stitch right here. That's where I slip stitched from the ending stitch here to the slip stitch here. That's a slip stitch. I wasn't supposed to go in that. So that added on a stitch to every single row that I ended off. So instead we're gonna skip that and slip stitch into the top. I now know that when you're working on a project, it's not gonna decrease into like a mitten. I know that now, especially since I'm working with double crochets. And I'm also re-watching the tutorial because I can't memorize this. No. So basically I'm just going to be doing the color change. Also, this is what I was talking about. Like, I don't cut the color off after I'm done. I just keep it in that spot. There's also the working it in, like if you were to take this color and hold this color here and work it in the stitch like that, and then you just carry it throughout the whole, yeah, there's that. But then there's also where you would take the color from where you last left off, slip stitch it on there, then tighten your last color, and then keep your last color here while you work with the other color. So I'm gonna go do that. That's a quick update for you. Okay, I was watching a movie while I was crocheting and I cried, so don't mind my makeup. It's all messed up. My eyeliner is uneven. I didn't feel like fixing it, but we've got one revised fingerless glove with the highlights and better weaving in the ends. So I'm currently working up the second one, and I'll get back to you guys when I finish that. Here's the finished product. They're much thinner than they were before. They're the exact same design except for when I do the thumb piece. I did end up doing a thick line here, but I don't think it really defects the design at all. I actually think that it makes it better than just a boring gray, black, gray, black, gray, gray, or gray, black, gray, black, gray, black, gray, black, you know. But I think that I like this design way more, and it's a lot more high quality because since this was my first project, since I got my whole last month, I was fresh to crocheting, so I hadn't had practice on weaving my ends in, so I did a lot better with that, I believe. So, yeah. There are a few things that I need to do, but that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Bye.